Hi and Assalamualaikum. We are from Group 7. Our group members is Anis Nabila, Ismahani, Nur Atika Sada and also me, Nur Maisara. Our group members will present about the introduction of thermodynamics.
Okay, so Assalamualaikum, my name is Nur Atika. So this is the first subtopic I will explain. It's not a first, it's actually a second subtopic, which is that we choose is properties of a system. So first, what is actually a properties? Properties is actually any characteristic of a system. Like some familiar properties such as temperature, pressure, volume, also mass. So the system can be either open or closed system. The concept of a property still applies. And then in classes of properties have two classes of properties. First is extensive and the second one is we call as intensive. So the differentiation between extensive and intensive actually, if extensive is quantities that depends on the mass amount of the system or size extent of a system, such as volume, energy, length, also momentum. So in intensive properties, additive over the system. The second one classes of properties is intensive property. So intensive is a quantities that are independent of the mass amount of the system, such as like temperature, pressure, also density, and have a specific properties, extensive properties per unit mass, such as specific volume, V equal to Vm. V is actually extensive property. So in intensive, no additive over the system. Why we call extensive properties per unit mass as specific volume? It is because that expressions for the first and second laws of thermodynamics will be written in terms of extensive properties, and the charts we use to look up property values will contain intensive properties. So we will using V equal to Vm and the analog equation for properties over than V to convert the chart properties to extensive variable for use in the equation.
In thermodynamics, there are two classes of properties. The first one is intensive properties and the second one is extensive properties. For intensive properties, it doesn't depend on the amount of the substance, while the extensive properties is depend on the amount of the substance and it's vary with the amount. For example, intensive properties is temperature. Like the picture above, there are two situations, which is the first one is there are two beaker with different volume of water, but the temperature is the same. It remains the same, which is 25 degrees Celsius. So that means that temperature it does not depend on the amount of the substance, while on the other side of the picture, which is extensive properties example, which is the mass. Okay, for the first situation, there are two beakers, but one beakers with 500 gram and the other beakers with 0 mass. And the other situation is there are two beakers, but each beakers have 250 gram of mass in each of the beakers. So that is the difference between intensive properties and extensive properties. Okay, so next is classes of properties, which is intensive and extensive. The difference is intensive properties, its independence of size, which is for example, there are V equal to V1 equal to V2 equal to V3. So all the size is the same, all the values is the same, while extensive is total, which is For V total is equal to V1 plus V2 V3. Also for example is mass, total of mass equal to M1 plus M2 plus M3. So extensive is total and intensive is size, independent of size. In the box also we present the difference between extensive properties and intensive properties.
For the next subtopic is state and equilibrium. What does it mean by equilibrium? Equilibrium is a state of balance. If the temperature is the same throughout the entire system, it is called as thermal equilibrium. If there is no change in pressure at any point of the system with time, it is called mechanical equilibrium. Next, if a system involves two phases and when the mass of each phase reach an equilibrium level and stay there, is called phase equilibrium. And lastly, if the chemical composition of system does not change with time and no chemical reaction occur, it is defined as chemical equilibrium. Thank you, that's all from me.
State postulate is defined by the state of a simple compressible system that is completely specified by two independent intensive properties. For example, the first one is pressure and specific internal energy. The second one is pressure and specific volume. And the third one is temperature and specific enthalpy. Another one is the simple compressible system. It is defined by a system that involves no electrical, magnetic, gravitational, motion and no surface tension effects. Lastly, I want to introduce about the state. The state is a set of properties that describe the condition of a system. For example, as in the figure, there is a change that has taken place from state 1 to state 2, where the system expands as the movable boundary moves up.